For as long as time, there has been the unexplained, the strange, the scary, the paranormal. And for as long as time, there have been those of us uniquely in tune with the spirits and strangeness that surround us. The paranormal does not belong to any one path or religion, because it has always just been. Ghosts, spirits, entities, demons, and things that go bump in the night, the stuff of nightmares and of stories. We always fear what we don't understand, but knowledge is power. So join me for a pagan's paranormal perspective. Come learn about spirits and demons and entities and more. Come explore the darker side of the paranormal. Arm yourself with knowledge. Understand that in darkness there is light, and in light there is darkness. One would not exist without the other. My goal is to make you think deeper, question what you think you know, and hopefully leave with an open mind. So join me on P3, Pagan's Paranormal Perspective, if you dare. So good evening and welcome to P3, Pagan's Paranormal Perspective. I'm very happy that everybody is joining me tonight on my debut show, and I'm really hoping everything is going well in the chat room. If they can hear me, somebody give me a sign. Okay. Anyway, all right. Everybody can hear me, and it's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much again. P3, Pagan's Paranormal Perspective. The reason I am doing this show is simply because there are so many paranormal shows out there, and they're all coming at it from a completely different game plan, so to speak. So I think it was important to allow pagans, who I believe we generally have a much more open frame of mind as to what's going on in paranormal investigating, and we understand things a little bit differently. So to help me with that tonight, I have a wonderful guest. I have Lady Kimberly Spice on. So hi, Lady Spice, how are you?
Hi, Onyx. I am good. Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I am very glad you're here. We have been trying to do this show, folks. We have been trying to do this show through two whole other lifetimes, shall we say. So we're very happy
We've been
to,
trying to find the right home for it.
absolutely, the right home for it, and this is it. So you are listening to us live on pbnradio.us. Really glad you're here. And tonight we've got some interesting things to talk about. But first, Lady Spice, I'd like to give you a moment to introduce yourself to our listening audience so they know a little bit about you.
Thanks, Onyx. Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with me, my name is Lady Kimberly Spice, as Onyx said. I was raised pretty much in a pagan household from the time I could walk. I've always been a natural medium, so speaking with things from the beyond that other people couldn't see is not, for me, wasn't uncommon. Throughout the years, with the things that I've encountered and things that other people have encountered, I found the calling of demonology probably close to about 20 years ago now. And the study has gone from there. My biggest my biggest thing with all of this is what most people would classify as demon actually isn't. Yes, it's an entity. Yes, it's a spirit body, but it's not actually a demon.
Yeah, and that's very important because I hear that all the time. I think I have said on a number of shows with the paranormal topics, um, please, please don't call everything a demon, because the minute you start doing that, you give it power. Whether it's a spirit, an entity, a ghost, whatever you want to call them, since they're not all demons, but you give them power by giving them that name. Think about it.
Especially
Go ahead.
especially if it's an intelligent haunt, because these things can and do self-teach. And if they're as nasty in life, if they were nasty and cruel in life, they'll want to be that in death, because that's the person they are. And they learn these things and they use it to scare you even further.
Yeah, they do, and it gives them power. It's like, pagans have always said, there's power in your name, and that's why you have, or, traditionally you have a public craft name, and then you have a private name that you use with your deities. So it's the same kind of thing like that. I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's similar. Once you start giving something that's going bump in the night, you start giving it a name demon, then you're feeding it that power to become that, or at least to mimic the ability of demons, because it draws from that power. Because the minute most lay people call something a demon, then there's that fear. And a lot of them are fear demons or chaos demons, and they're going to feed upon that like manna.
Pretty much every demon, every negative entity, period, doesn't matter if it's a spirit of someone who's now deceased, or if it's something right on up the scale into, say, a diabolic, which is about as bad as you can get. You will find certain things are very common. There are a number of things that overlap. So, yeah, it's really easy for people who are unaware of what to look for to call it something it's not.
Yep.
It's also really easy with all of these paranormal shows that we see for people to go, oh, I've seen that before. It's this, and it's not.
Exactly.
It could be from a totally different pantheon.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And I think the most of the people that watch, well, I don't want to say most. I try not to. I'm trying not to do that. A lot of people that watch those paranormal shows think that they're learning stuff. They think that this is how it is. And I'm here to tell you, if what you learn from a paranormal show, you need to go back to school, because that's not really how it works. Those shows are so Hollywooded up, and full of misinformation that can get people into trouble, because they think, oh, well, if I do this or I do that, and no, it's not. It's ridiculous. I watch them from time to time, like I would read an Inquirer. I watch them for entertainment value only, and to see what craziness they can come up with next. Very, very rarely do they actually get something. And by then, I think it's just, luck, not skill.
Well, I mean, you go into any building, say, Pennsylvania State Penitentiary, or say the one that's in New Mexico that they use for filming, the prison movies of all things.
Hmm.
You go in there, and you can expect them to be inundated, because if you walk up with a shotgun to the broadside of a barn, pull the triggers, sure as I'm sitting here, you're going to hit something.
Yeah.
What gets me is when they do find something and they get all freaked out because something either tries to make contact, and because they don't understand what it's trying to say or what it's trying to get across to them, it then starts to get frustrated and attack them. And they get upset at this. I don't understand.
I don't either. It makes me laugh. I'm not going to say the names of the show, because I certainly don't want to be liable for anything. But there's one that's not in the U.S., let's put it that way. And then there is this this lovely young, well, I wouldn't say young, this lovely gal that, you know, tends to, like throw balls at things and antagonize a little bit. And then when something gets thrown back, they run screaming through the halls. And it makes me laugh. Makes me laugh
She
very
wouldn't
hard.
happen to be British, would it?
It probably would, but I'm not allowed to say. We
No, but I
certainly,
think I know the one you're talking
yes,
about. It was an entire series that went on for years, and it was a blonde host.
yes, yes.
I know
And
the
it
one.
was so amusing that oh, will you please talk to me? And something moved a chair, and they freak out and start screaming. I'm like, folks, isn't that
The
what you
one
were
over in
asking
the
for?
Whaley plantation was priceless when the orbs started coming at her.
Oh my heavens. I tell you what.
She ran out screaming. Because of what I do, I keep an eye on these things because they tend to go into places and stir things up.
Right, right,
And there's been more than one case I've watched hosts over the years. For instance, I don't know if you ever watched Paranormal State.
right. I think I have.
Quite a number of years ago, the host, if you actually see photos of him now, you can tell there's an attachment. You can see the sunken eyes. You can see the gaunt face. You see the gray pallid skin.
Yep.
There is no mistaking he has got something attached to him.
Yeah, and that's scary, and I think that's what happens. People that have no business being in the field, or that are in the field for the wrong reasons, they put themselves at risk, and that's just so frustrating to me. Having dealt with the paranormal my whole life as well, and I know a lot of my listeners here now know because I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into all that this time. Um, but I've been dealing with the paranormal since I was a child as well, and if you don't know what you're doing, then you don't need to be doing it, regardless as to what kind of TV paycheck you're going to get, because you set yourself up for some things like this. And as much as I like to poke fun at some of the paranormal shows, there are, I mean, like you said, the places they go, some of the places they go are genuinely inhabited. They genuinely have stuff going on. And then when you have people in there that are um, not what's the word I'm looking for? They're not ready for it, but that's not even the word.
They're
They're
not
not
prepared.
they're not prepared. That one and their skill set. It is not within their skill set to actually deal with the stuff that is actually there. So they're amateurs and posers. Yes, thank you, Voodoo Monkey. Posers, absolutely.
He was referring to Lawrence actually, and we'll go into that in a bit because I'm very familiar with Lorraine.
Yeah, good, good, good. And but yeah, I think it's an important thing to remember that well, gosh, I don't want to go through all our stuff right at first, but maybe we should we've got time to discuss some what I am sorry, I am not speaking well tonight.
That's okay.
Finally got my
That's true.
yeah, I finally got my sound system working, and I'm like, people think I'm drunk. I'm really not, folks, I promise. Um, Can we talk about the different kinds of haunts? Can we talk about the different kinds of entities that they may be actually running into, as opposed to, calling everything a demon? Can we kind of try to define some of these a little
Okay,
bit,
well, how about we start with something with some of the more benign ones.
please?
I'm sure if you've heard me on some of Onyx's other programs talk about place memory, where the actual, and it's called the stone tape theory. Things like quartz, limestone, water, they all hold energy. Copper, actually in the rocks, will hold energy, and it holds emotional energy and plays it back like a loop. We'll see this in places, Mar-a-Lago in Florida, I do believe it is. There's a ghost who was a lady that owned the place. She was struck by on a full moonlit night by a car in the 20s, and on the night of her death in April, and once a year, if there is a full moon on that night, you will actually see and hear the replay of her death just as it happened. That is a place memory. I lived in and worked in one town, an old logging town. We would always see the same form go from one side of bar to the other, and totally harmless. We didn't find out until after that the bar that I was working in was between an old rail shed and the old rail yard where he used to work. He
Wow.
was killed on the track in the early 1800s.
Yeah, those are the like the movies, right? Those are the ones that are like just like replaying on a VCR. You're seeing the same energy again and again, and it's not interacting, and it's not intelligent because you're basically watching a movie. Kind of like what was that movie? Well, but then they ended up interacting. But High Spirits, do you
Groundhog?
remember that? No, no, no. High Spirits. Do you know that one?
No, I don't. I'm gonna have to Netflix that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I hope it's on there. I don't know. Daryl Hannah, Liam Nielsen, gosh, Beverly D'Angelo. It's a phenomenal movie, but it shows you a little bit of some different kinds of haunts. Of course, they end up being Hollywooded and whatever, but it's really interesting about the replaying the same thing over and over again. That's one of my absolute favorite movies. You've got to get that movie. You've got to watch it. Anybody else, you
Oh,
can watch it
speaking of
too.
ghost shows, there's only one half decent ghost I don't even like to refer to them as a paranormal investigator because she's not. It's a show that's actually called The Dead Files.
I remember her. Yes, I know her.
Uh, Amy,
Yeah. We don't have to go last names, but yeah.
yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal lady. And I mean, she's got me clocked in the medium skills department.
She's phenomenal.
To see that, to sit down and watch a couple of seasons of it, you'll get a really good look for what really is out there.
Yes. She is absolutely phenomenal, and yeah. And that's one of the more real shows. Now, the way they do it, who knows? But as far as her skills, yes. She's absolutely phenomenal and a true medium. And I really think that any paranormal team that doesn't um, try to incorporate a genuine medium or somebody of the pagan persuasion or something like that is really cutting themselves short if they're actually doing real investigation and not just, going to all the famous haunted spots so they can, get on TV or radio. People that are actually doing it, it's a good thing to have somebody with those skills because you just don't know.
And you never know walking in with a group of people who is sensitive and who isn't. Because there are people who have skills that are very sensitive that have no idea how to control them.
Right,
And they walk in open and they walk out with things attached to them that follow them home.
right,
And you can get this going into a grocery store, never mind into a haunted house.
right. Thrift store, antique shop, yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
don't even get me started on people that bring home things that have attachments or buy them.
Yes.
Don't deliberately try and bring this stuff into your home and then get upset when things come with it.
Yep, yep. It is amusing. But some people are just not, they don't, it's not in their realm of even understanding that these things really exist. There are some certain organized faiths out there that, poo-poo all of this stuff to such a degree that people get into these situations and have no idea. And that's kind of the investigations that I like because I want to help people. There's people that get exposed to these kinds of things that are so not prepared to deal with them and have no clue and don't even know where to begin. And, for me, that's part of why I want to, do and why I've done paranormal stuff in the past is because, I have a genuine desire to help people. But not everybody's there for it.
No, a
Not,
lot of them sadly are in it for their own personal thrill.
yeah, their 5 minutes of fame. And, the thing about, the other thing I say is with the paranormal, I'm not here to prove anything. I've got a limited amount of equipment. I've got the equipment that I absolutely need to help me target in, and EVP I believe in. I love EVP. That's one thing. Yeah, you're gonna find me with a recorder. You'll probably find me with an EMF detector just to find out because we know scientifically that EMF can cause things if it's too high in a house or whatever. And you do always have to look at that. I mean, you have to be careful with investigating, but that's another show. I'll
Another
stop
thing
there.
to keep in mind is cold and warm spots. So a temperature gauge
Yes,
that takes air room temperature is helpful.
yes, I actually do have one of those temperature things too. All right, well, we are about right now at our first commercial break. So I am going to let you hear some words from our wonderful sponsors at PBNR Radio. So give them a listen and check them out, and we will be back in just a minute.
Looking for that special item for your mantle or that one-of-a-kind gift for the love of your life? Visit us at Sleeping Griffin. We offer many items from pyrography to metaphysical supplies. Choose one of our regular designs on a keepsake box, crystal grid, or even design your own. Need a little help with your practice? Choose from our selection of organic, hand-mixed binding salts. Come and see our Etsy shop at Sleeping Griffin or visit our website at sleepinggriffin.net, where spirituality and functionality come together.
Looking for authentic pagan wares? then check out Onyx Moon Emporium, where they offer an eclectic mix of metaphysical and spiritual related items, handcrafted using old recipes and traditions, where everything is created in small batches by authentic and experienced practitioners. Their promise to customers is authenticity. From witchy items, conjure goods, setting of lights, to a wide selection of magical and conditioned oils. Also handcrafted wooden grimoires and journals, made to order magical candles in all shapes, sizes, and intents. From angel kits to gree-gree, herbs and curios, from naughty to nice and everything in between. Many items are custom made, so they are uniquely yours. Special orders welcome, and if you have an idea for something you're not finding, they're happy to work with you. Need an oil that's not listed? A spell you can't find? Looking for that hard-to-find herb or curio? They probably have it, or they can make it. Visit them at onyxmoonemporium.com or find them on Facebook. Onyx Moon Emporium. From angels to Zen, find everything for your magical life. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed those commercials, and welcome back to P3 with my guest tonight, Lady Spice, and we are talking, all sorts of demons and ghost hunting stuff. So, anyway, we left off.
Back it's actually sometime back in the chat, we had asked, someone had asked about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Like any other person that finds themselves in the media spotlight, you're going to find good, you're going to find bad. A lot of the Amityville horror garbage, and even they will admit behind the scenes, or Lorraine at least admitted that they got caught up into a whole Hollywood hype and a ball of wax that they were not expecting. Posers, not really. Knowing Lorraine as I do, like I said, she was my mentor when I first started this. She's been instrumental in helping to develop a very key component of the skill set of discernment. She's a sweet lady, pretty much retired now. Ed, rest his soul, is gone. The one that in that particular family, I'm not overly trustful of is Zaphis. There's just something that never did feel right about him taking everybody's antiques that supposedly had haunts attached to them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. The Haunted Collector, I think, was the name of the show.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, knowing some of the price of some of the antiques he was saying had things attached to them, I couldn't help but wonder, okay, are you actually compensating these people, or are you just taking the item?
Wow. Well, yeah, and there's always that, but yeah, that would bother me too.
And I mean, yes, they have a wonderful museum. Yes, Annabelle's there. I haven't had a chance to visit it myself, but the two or three people I know that have, you walk into the place and it's got a really dark, foreboding feeling. So does the museum that Zaphis has, along the same vein of haunted items and collected things.
Okay.
That's actually, I believe, Ed's nephew.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Most people didn't realize that they were actually related.
Yeah, no, I did not know that. That's very cool. Goodness.
Well, the creepiest doll ever, Voodoo Monkey, has got to be Robert the doll.
Robert, yes, down in the Keys. Yes. Robert is a very creepy doll.
We had talked earlier about other haunted items, especially when you're messing with things that you shouldn't be. The perfect example of that is what's known as the Dybbuk box. It was purchased from family of a World War II survivor out of the internment camps, and she had sunk all of this stuff and all of her emotion into this box and had created a demon with it. Well, the person that bought the box heard the story that came along with it, thought nothing of it, and let his mother open it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes, she opened the doors, and a couple of years later after this, she just collapsed. dropped from a stroke right then and there.
Huh.
When she was finally able to talk to her son, all she said is it was this pure evil that came out of that box. There's been 13 or 14 deaths associated with the box.
So
And
that's a real Pandora's box there, huh?
very much so. And if you actually Google it, it's called the Dybbuk box. Depending on if you want to spell it with a Y or an I, it's Dibbuk. And you can actually find it online. All you got to do is Google that, and there's all sorts of stories that come up about this box.
Wow. No, that's a little creepy. That's not something I want to play with. I think I would wrap that up and bury it very, very deep.
Well, that's exactly what the current owner actually has done with it, is bury it out in somewhere in the 50 acres of his farm and just buried it, left it.
Good. Well, you know, they're only going to have to worry about it, you know, long time from now when somebody starts, some futuristic archaeologist starts excavating over there. So that'll be interesting. I wish I was around to see that. Okay. Well, we had been talking about the different kinds of haunts. So can we get back to some of those? We had started off. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, we were talking about place memory. There's other types of haunts that are spirit generated. They're either attached to the land or the house, or they're from a catastrophe that's happened nearby. I've seen one particular case where this house was inundated with different spirits. The people didn't see all of them, but they were catching glimpses of some of them, and they brought in a paranormal investigation team that had a medium.
Right.
And one that had a channeling medium. It turns out that about a quarter mile from the property had been a very large accident in the late 1800s, early 1900s. A molasses vat had exploded.
Oh, wow.
It literally drowned the town.
Oh, no.
And this was the only house that was even close to where the accident had occurred. So because there's living energy there. There's, lights on somebody's home.
Right.
They were
drawn to it, yeah.
There.
In the chat, Raven Wings asked, would that be like a haunted field where there was a battle or something?
Yes. You'll find that very much. Gettysburg.
Yep.
Hands down, that is one of the most haunted battlefields. That, Bannockburn in Scotland. Those are the two that are most active. Gettysburg being by far the most active, as it's the most recent, and there's also the current reenactments that go on continually.
Right.
It keeps that energy alive. It keeps those spirits there because some of them don't realize that they're dead yet.
Right. And that is a problem with some. That really is a definite problem when they don't really know they're dead. Now, some of them they do, and some of them are just, my understanding of some of the different kinds. And I've tried to break it down in a different way for people that maybe aren't all into it. Frequently, I will call a ghost being the ones that either don't know they're dead or have not crossed. Okay? I generally call a spirit one that has crossed but has learned how to come back and forth. You know what I mean? Like they go into a veil and they're actually more intelligent. Sometimes ghosts don't know they're dead, and sometimes they've just been stuck for so long that the way I put it is
or they don't want to cross.
Right, exactly. Either they don't want to, or some of them forget and they start losing their humanity, and then they become a little bit more misbehaving, shall we say.
That's where a wraith actually develops from, my dear.
Yes. But I mean, I try to put it in kind of a little bit more layman's terms for some people. But yes, that is definitely where a wraith comes from.
Run-of-the-mill ghost is exactly that. A person that doesn't realize that they're dead or doesn't wish to cross. Spirits, you're right, they do come back, or sometimes they're sent back.
Right.
Because I've seen people who've had their guardian spirits sent back.
Exactly. And like I said, not every spirit is a bad thing. There's frequently times that they're just there because they want, they either want attention, they want to be recognized, So they knock the salt over. So what? All they want you to do is say, hey, you know what? I know you're here, and as long as you're not here to cause mischief, we're good. Or, you know,
Actually, a very funny story. And speaking of a benign haunt, she was intelligent. I'm sure she was. I never did see her, but I could feel her. And I would be sitting in my apartment late in the evening after work, and I'd hear movement in the kitchen, like, cupboard doors opening and closing, the kettle cord rustling.
right.
I go into my kitchen, nothing's disturbed. I would go to bed, nothing on the counters. I'd get up, my cupboard doors would be open. Well, I discovered, after trial and error, if I left my teapot out on the counter, I never heard any sounds and I never woke up to open cupboard doors in the morning.
Ah,
Never saw her. I could hear her movements. I don't even know what apartment she was from.
ah. She just wanted to have that tea out, huh?
She just wanted evening tea, I guess.
I guess that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, but no, sometimes I try to break it down to where it's a little more understandable for people. So I say ghost versus spirit versus entity. Entities, I know that we get things that maybe never have been human. Um, and I will say that there are animal ghosts too,
Oh, yeah.
or animal spirits. Maybe spirits better. I don't know which word to use for them because you can't really talk to them. But at the same time, I know that there have been, and I'm not talking about like the devil dogs and demon dogs and stuff like that. That's a whole nother animal, literally, than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about pets that come back and visit you and things like that. I know I've had that happen in my life, and those are meant to be comforting. So, I guess,
Very much so.
yeah, I guess,
My partner's familiar lived to the ripe old age of 22, and he was sick enough that we couldn't keep him anymore. So we did the responsible thing, and we, humanely had him put to sleep. But we still feel him hop up on the bed
yep,
or climb up onto the bed and walk up between us like he used to. Or I'll feel him curl up against my side at night, and I swear that cat's purring, and there is not a cat in the room.
right, right. Absolutely, and that's what I mean. Not everything that may be doing bumping is malevolent in any way. Sometimes they're there to comfort. Sometimes they're there to guard or watch, like your guardian spirits or your, however you guardian angels, if you prefer. I don't care what term you use. Sometimes things will let you know they're there, and even if it is somebody like great uncle whatever his name, and it's him because you smell the cigar and you do this, sometimes they just want to be acknowledged.
Very
And
much so.
yeah, and in my house, what happens? I don't have any resident spirits. I tend to get a lot of transients that just kind of come through my house. Let me clarify. My house is very well warded. Nothing bad is coming in. It's not allowed, and I do those wards frequently to make sure of that. So, but I have absolutely put out the welcome mat. If somebody, whatever. And when they come through, sometimes they don't know my rule. And my rule is you're not allowed to mess with me when I'm sleeping. You cannot come into my room. You can be in any other part of the house. You can get my attention however you will, and I will talk to you and acknowledge you and validate your being there, but don't come in my room. Well, there are some that are pranksters or what, and they will come in my room and they will mess with my feet while I'm sleeping. Now, I'm not saying, they always, but they do. And sometimes it makes me laugh and sometimes it ticks me off. It just depends on their persistence.
And again,
And
it goes back to they are in death as they were in life.
yes,
If they were little rebellious rule breakers in life, they're going to be like that in death.
right. But I've never felt uncomfortable and nobody else has ever felt uncomfortable in my house because of the transients or the, follow me homes and see what I'm doing. Um, and and they're welcome. And I've not ever had to actually make one leave. I know that we've had plenty of them, and I know some have been family. My grandsons react to, staring at the ceiling, that kind of thing. And it gets fun. And sometimes it's great because I know if, I've seen when my grandson was going through so much stuff and the way he'd be looking at the ceiling and smiling up in the corner of the room, I knew I could leave him there to go to sleep and it wasn't going to be an issue because somebody was watching over him. So that was, it was kind of comforting to me in that. However, I am not stupid enough to believe that every spirit or whatever is good. Okay, I've dealt with my share. A bunch of us have dealt with our share of the bad ones. And there are some ways that you can recognize some of the bad ones. There are some things that you can do to help protect yourself in your house and things like that. And there's some things that, have worked for some people. I'm going to briefly, because we're almost to the next commercial break, briefly talk about the fact that, a lot of the paranormal investigators come at it from a strictly Christian perspective. And like I said, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. It's like them, going at everything with a crucifix or a cross, and holy water and the priest to do this and that. And I think sometimes
they have the moxie to take it on in the first place. I'm
yeah,
usually called in because the priests refuse.
yeah. Well, because there's a few of them that know when they're over their head. And sometimes I think they do it for stuff that they know that it is not whatever. But at the same time, I think they just get lucky because, everybody says, oh, you got to have a cross. Well, or they bring their crucifix and they're this, that, and the other. And the difference is the cross actually predates Christianity. And a lot of pagans don't understand that either. Oh, they're wearing a cross. Well, you know what?
So does the pentacle.
Yep.
So does the pentagram. You can find all of these symbols, including the ones for the so-called Christian archangels, in the Keys of Solomon, which actually predate Judaism by several millennia.
Yeah.
They were originally written in Sanskrit.
And that's very cool. And I guess that's part of the thing is, if you're gonna go up against something, you got to do your research and you've got to actually know what you're talking about, because what I've told people and things, not always is what you're banishing a Christian.
No. Oh, heavens no. I have one particular case that I've been working on for 5 years. This has been layer after onion couldn't touch this for layers. I've had to use Christian. I've had to use black magic. I've had to use voodoo. I've had to use Celtic white magic. And I'm still not finished.
Right.
Because different layers of deities come from different pantheons, and it takes different things to get rid of them.
Right, and not everything you do. I mean, heck, you could be on an Indian burial ground or some sort of thing where they did not recognize Christianity as anything. So you're going at them from this, high holy Christian, Catholic, whatever you want to be. And they're just kind of like laughing at you because those threats don't mean anything to them.
No, and going back, and I hate touting this show, but if you go back and actually watch the Dead Files, she suggests bring in a member of this tribe, or bring in this sort of person, or bring in a male warlock to do a high banishing. She doesn't go just straight Christian. I think I've heard her use the term exorcism twice.
Right.
In 8 years. Because exorcisms don't always work.
No, they don't.
Hollywood.
Yeah. I think they do that. I think wasn't it when it was like a shadow guy that she pulled the exorcism card. I think it was with the shadow, because there was one like farmhouse thing that was the
2 farmhouses on the same property.
I think so, and the shadow guy was in the house with the hat shadow guy.
Okay.
I don't know. It's been a while.
The one I was thinking of was the original house was the old plantation.
Maybe that is the one. It's it's been a while.
One where they had to bring in a hoodoo practitioner.
Yeah, that could have been.
They found one, but not one strong enough.
Yeah, and that's hard. Okay, well, we've got a little bit more to come back with you. Yeah, we've got a little bit more to come back with you at after these next commercial break. Once again, take a listen to some of our wonderful sponsors here on PBNR Radio, and we'll be back with you in just a moment. I'm going to share with you a company founded on passion. A passion dreamed into existence by 2 lightworkers to share the gift of holistic healing with the world. Acting on the belief that infusing ritualistic components like the use of crystals and moon cycles, Reiki and more, enhances the quality and energetic profile of their alchemic creations and their spiritual workings. A passion for the rare and unique that touches all they create and do. What is this wonder-filled place, you ask? It's the altruistic apothecary, a place of magical items, like rune sets, god and goddess statues, amulets and talismans, incense, bombs, bath salts, and more. A place of spiritual guidance and healing from an intuitive medicine woman, holistic health practitioner, and Reiki master, offering spiritual medium readings, rune readings, healing sessions, and more. It's there. They're ready. The door is open. All you have to do is ask, and they will share with you all the secrets they possess to help you on your path. Find them on Facebook or on their website, www.altruisticapothecary.com, ALTRUISTICAPOTHECARY.com. Wonder awaits you. Is your ritual cloak ready for the rag band? Are your guest towels sad and worn? Is your tote bag begging to retire? Then you need Twitch's Stitches. Twitch's Stitches is a custom embroidery shop with a pagan flair. From the classics and everyday designs to ornate ritual style, fantasy, furries, mythical, and so much more. They do t-shirts, ritual capes and cloaks, sweats, towels, blankets, hoodies, totes, and more. You name it, Twitch's Stitches can embroider it. And they love custom orders, so if you don't find what you're looking for, they're only a phone call or a message away. So if you want quality items lovingly crafted and embroidered, you have to check them out on Facebook. And that's www.facebook.com/Twitch's Stitches. That's TWITCHES STITCHES. However, we can't be held responsible when your friends and family try to swipe them, so tell them to get their own. Twitch's Stitches, for the love of design. And welcome back to P3 with my guest, Lady Spice. And we're talking about all sorts of hauntings and demons and that sort of thing. So we've got a few more things to go over with you, so I'm going to hand the floor over to Miss Lady Spice.
Thank you, darling. One thing I do find is very common is people are aware that they do have something in their home or they have something around them that they do try to make contact with, especially if they're not quite sure what they're doing or how to go about it. More than once, I've been called in because someone has been playing with a Ouija board and left a door open that things have come through, not having any idea how to actually safely use one. This opens the door to a whole host of problems.
Right.
If you start trying to make contact with someone, I like to explain it as you're talking to someone from a completely different culture. Say you come across somebody from the Middle East. Language is different, dress is different, you don't really communicate very well. So there's going to be anger and there's going to be frustration, and those two things will breed negativity and malevolence. And things will come through the door and get stuck there and that don't want to be there. Don't mess with something you don't understand. If you're not a medium, find someone who is. If you are experiencing things you're not sure what it is, don't label it a demon. Do your homework, do your research, contact people that would know. Don't start bringing in haunted items and haunted objects or buying things off the internet that claim to have an entity attached unless you're really truly prepared to deal with that as it is. And if you do, then I'm sorry for you. You've been sucked out of your money because most of those things are fake anyway.
Absolutely. That brings me to one of my biggest pet peeves. I am so tired of seeing people selling jinns and succubuses and vampires and this and that and the other thing attached to some cheap piece of china jewelry, and claiming that they are all powerful, all knowing, and they can put this entity into this ring that you can command to do your bidding. Are you kidding me? It's akin to stealing in my book. people are taking advantage of those that are uninformed and uneducated or naive or just looking for something because they're in desperate need, and they're paying money like crazy for this stuff that is about as real as my unicorn sitting next to me.
The one that's covered in rainbow glitter?
Yes. Absolutely. That it frustrates me and it's not just pagan people that are doing this. This is a lot of people that have jumped on the bandwagon. But people like that in a selling culture. I mean, obviously, I have a store. I sell things. I'm not here to promote it on the show. But the point is, I would never do something as unethical as that. And I think it is unethical. And I think that sellers like that give honest sellers a bad name.
Very much so.
And it's frustrating. And something I put on my boards. So what did you think of that lovely pink Ouija board that they're marketing nowadays too?
Oh dear Lord, please don't even get me started. Just because it's owned by Parker Brothers and produced in pink does not make it suddenly okay. These are not toys, folks. I'm sorry. They might have come about and risen to conscious fame in the 20s, when it was all the rage to try and contact the dead in the age of spiritualism. But these people really have no idea what they're messing with. I
Yeah.
won't even use one.
Oh, now see, I will use a spirit board or a pendulum because I don't see any difference. However, you're trying to do spirit communication. However, I know how to set guidelines or boundaries, and I know how to close the doors that I open. Did I always? No. Did I have to learn? Yes. Did I learn the hard way? A little bit. But the whole point is, educate yourself. It's not okay for kids. And, well, let me put it, especially for children.
Child a loaded firearm with the safety off. This is what you do when you hand them a Ouija board. Doesn't matter if it's pink or not.
Exactly. But my whole point there is the fact that children are much more open, much more susceptible, much more powerful in a way.
Right? It hasn't
Yes.
been dimmed by humanity.
Right. And they are very clear targets for this kind of thing. So, if you're raising your child in the craft and it's in a controlled situation with plenty of people that do know what they're doing there to guide the whatever, we're not talking about that. We're talking about people buying them for their kids and saying, oh, here you go, and that's just scary, wrong, silly, stupid. I just don't understand that in any way, shape, or form. It's just about
any witchcraft tool. It doesn't matter if it's an antheme, it doesn't matter if it's a pendulum, it doesn't matter if it's a spirit board, it doesn't matter what it is. It has its own inherent power, and if you don't have respect for that inherent power, it can be turned on you.
Exactly. Exactly. And any tool can. Any tool can be turned on you. I mean, that's why, if you are a gun owner, you better know how to handle your gun. It's the same kind of thing.
That's exactly it. If you're going to do this, be responsible. Know what you're doing first. And if you don't, talk to people who do. Do the research.
And learn some more and read some more and learn some more. I mean, that's the biggest thing I can think of is getting people to actually understand what it is they're doing and calling on. Anybody can light a candle and do a spell or whatever, but when you start working with spirits or entities, or you start doing paranormal investigation, or you do spirit rescue work, which is part of paranormal investigating in my book. I mean, I think that's the whole purpose of it, from my point of view, is to if somebody needs to move on and wants to move on, then you got to help them do it. If they don't want to move on and they need to move on, then you kind of become the parent and you make them do it. Yes.
Assist them forcefully.
Yes. And then there's other ones that you just have to push through the hole and seal the doggone hole shut. And that's a whole nother animal, or in a jar, and there's various ways of ridding places. And sometimes, like we were talking about, it takes more than one time and it takes more than one approach. because there may be layers, and there may be more than one, and they may be, commingling in a space, and you've got,
Raven Wings makes an excellent point. Not all of them are honest.
Right.
Often they'll show up, especially shapeshift, ones that shapeshift. They'll show up as one thing and they're entirely another. Demons themselves will often show up in the form of children.
Yep.
Or they will take the form of someone that you know that you love or are attached to that have crossed.
Right.
They will show up as someone needing help. And as soon as you open that door, yes, I'll help you. That deal is sealed and they're in.
Yep. And if you don't know how to...
It's what they call a familiar spirit.
Yep.
They will take the form of a familiar spirit.
Yep.
Tricksters. Not everybody that you come across in life is going to be honest. You have the same thing with the dead. Not all of them are going to be honest. Some will show themselves to a medium in a much more different light than they actually are. I had one particular spirit that I came across years ago. He showed himself initially as big and scary and really a bully.
Right.
But to come across his spirit later, when I don't think he realized I was where I was, I saw a very pudgy, short, fat, little old man.
Right.
And when I described this gentleman, turns out it was the homeowner's great uncle who had owned the place and died there.
So he was just originally thinking to protect his space by acting like a bully. Yeah. Yep.
I don't want you here. This is mine. And we'll see that a lot in old homes.
Right.
That have got active haunts. It's usually a former homeowner or somebody associated with the property.
Right. Oh, and please let me get this out. This is something I didn't get to get out in the last time I was trying to do this. People will contact me or talk about stuff about, okay, it's a brand new development. It's a brand new home. How can I possibly have a ghost? How can I possibly have this thing going on? And what a lot of people don't realize that it's attached to the land. It's not necessarily the house. I don't care if I go out and build an apartment tomorrow. The chances of it being haunted are doggone good, because basically we don't know anything about where our land is. This world's been around for a long time. We can all be sitting on graves. We could all be, so it doesn't matter where you are. Don't just assume that, no, that can't possibly be because, this house is only 5 years old and I'm the only one that's ever lived here. Nobody ever died here. Well, what about the house that was there 500 years ago before you were there, or the hut, or the whatever? I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah, where did your local tribe bury their dead?
Right.
I mean, Native peoples have been in North America for the better part of 10,000 years. You can bet that there are graves and grave sites that dot North America.
Right.
That we'll never find.
Absolutely, because we're probably built on top of them how many times? And maybe people get lucky and the spirits, weren't disturbed because there was so much time in between. But something could trigger them and you could have a world of hurt.
Well, you see these frequently actually in places, old cities like London.
Right.
They were actually going to expand the one university parking lot, started digging down and found Richard III's grave.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff like that. And yeah, Voodoo Monkey says, or places where there were massacres during clearances and stuff like that. Absolutely. You don't know it's like St. Augustine. St. Augustine is my favorite place in Florida to go because, I don't know, I am welcomed there. I mean, I have this like spook magnet attached to my head, and if there's a spook within 20 miles, it's going to find me. So when I go to St. Augustine, it's like home. They know that I know they're there, and they know I'm respectful. So I get a lot of stuff.
Victoria, BC, it's a really, really old city, and there's haunts everywhere.
Yep. St. Augustine is, I got to say a real quick story on that is, gosh, it's probably been 15 years. I can't remember. My husband and I went to St. Augustine for our anniversary, and he was not a believer. let me tell you, he was so much not a believer, but he knew I wanted to go on a ghost tour and do this, da 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 da, and it was for our anniversary, and and he's a good guy, so he's like, okay, fine. So, you know, I picked one that I really thought might actually give me something, and it really did. I enjoyed this tour, and I still know where the houses were that I got stuff at, and whatever, whatever. So I'll go do my own ghost tour when I'm there. Some really cool stuff, but my daughter jokingly at, like, I don't know, she was maybe 11, 7, I don't know, she was young. She jokingly said, well, take some pictures of some orbs when you come back. For when you come back. So I got some orb pictures because, all I've got to do, honest to Pete, is put out my camera and ask. And they will, I mean, they're everywhere. I get orbs everywhere. But orbs to me are, some, they can be whatever. They can be poo-pooed, but I thought I was doing it for the child. Well, I took some other pictures in other places and that were not for orbs. And I got, like, full body apparitions, fleshies. I got all sorts of stuff once you looked at it. So I worked for a drugstore that did film at the time, so I brought them in and I did them, and I'm flipping through them real fast going, oh, well, shoot. Here, honey, here's some orbs. And she's looking through the pictures, and all of a sudden she's like, Mom, 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 like the commercial. She's like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, what? And I take a look, and I'm like, yeah, nothing, sweetheart. And I'd take them home and show my husband. And I had 5 or 6 good pictures. So good, in fact, that when I had to do a speech class for my nursing stuff, I did a speech on ghosts, do you believe or not, kind of thing. And after I showed those pictures, I changed people's minds because there was just no denying them. It was pretty wild. But anyway, all right, I've rambled on enough. We've got just a couple minutes more. But I want to say I would like you people to come with us and visit me on my Something Witchy show at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, where Lady Spice will be back with me for a similar topic, but in a whole nother angle. You want to tell them a little bit about what we're going to do on Wednesday?
Certainly. Seeing as people tend to feed energy and things, to spirits, we don't realize that that's something called a thought form. Now, here's something for all of you to keep in mind. We create our own demons. Everybody knows the story of the boogeyman. What most people don't realize is that we create our own. As children, especially because they're open, they put out energy, and what scares them is going to generate more energy. It gathers into a thought form, a being of its own. And we end up having these all of our lives. People around us won't react to them. They won't feel them. Some do. My mom did. But they're our own, quite literal, personal demon. And if we can do this to ourselves, what kind of power can we give to something that's already got a life form of its own?
Exactly. So, join us Wednesday. We'll see you then.
Night.
Since 2014, the Pagan Business Network has been building resources by bringing together pagan-owned and pagan-friendly businesses. With multiple resources available, it doesn't matter if you're an artisan, musician, vendor, author, publishing company, blogger, podcaster, event planner, or any other organization. We have the resources here to help you succeed. Becoming a member is easy and affordable, even for the smallest of budgets. With your membership, you will get Business Spotlight, which is an article written in an interview style, complete with details and photos. Social media sharing through the Pagan Business Network. A blog roll. A membership card for discounts at participating businesses. You'll also get discounts on tickets to all Pagan Business Network events, and so much more. You can check us out at paganbusinessnetwork.com for more information.